Hey, everybody, welcome to a Patreon exclusive coming to you with new equipment because I got a new computer. Yeah.
Patreon exclusive. Pump and circumstance. Yeah.
Mountain Dew Blast.
Sunday. Kids just $5.
Yeah, we're doing another top 5. What do we call these?
Retro list.
Retro list. And you're
So
getting
easy.
it quick and soon. That's what she said, because we wanted to test
Here's
out
the
my new
reason.
computer.
Here's the reason. Because of another podcast who we have reason to believe are copying us, and we noticed that on their Patreon they're giving a lot of audio.
Was that the
and
reason?
Did you sign up for their Patreon?
No.
Okay.
I listened
you
to several
can look.
episodes, though.
But you can look. It's all Trevor is. Trevor's
He's becoming their biggest fan. He's listening
yeah.
to the episodes. He's
I've doubled the
supporting them on
downloads.
Patreon.
but that's how we know all this stuff. Trevor's our inside mole.
He's posting on their message boards.
Our goal is for Trevor to befriend them and then find out everything
Destroy
about their
them from the
operation.
inside.
Yeah.
But it'll be like the narcs that become like drug addicts. I'll end up loving them and I'll defect to their side and you'll never see me again.
Yeah,
Oh, God,
then we,
no.
then we
Don't
lose
do that.
Trevor.
I'm going to refer to them as Dark Retro Blissed from now on because they're basically us, but they cuss.
Oh, I like that.
Although
And they got-
actually, the thing is, I
the
think we're
Vader-
way darker with our humor. They just cuss. That's the irony, but
That's a good point. Yeah, we're definitely way more angry at ourselves.
yeah,
That's
they
for
still have some
especially Tim.
some laughter. in
Gosh,
their
Tim.
step.
I know.
Tim,
I
you're-
can't.
Tim, you're a good dude. Just stop. It's fine. We love you. Don't hate
He's
on the guy
like-
we love.
No parents. I can't remember the
bad?
rest of that song. It was great.
But we
Remember
all
Batman
from
song
Lego-
from the Lego movie.
Yes, oh, yeah, right.
Darkness, no
Yeah.
parents.
Yes.
Something like that.
It's a pretty great song.
It
I
is
remember
good.
that. Yeah, everybody loves that. Any song about no parents, because they just don't understand. That's what Will Smith told me.
Exactly.
And you know what Will Smith did? He was in a sitcom, and that's what we're talking about today on Retro List. Ha 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 ha! I
Nice.
did that all by myself.
Ha,
We're,
ha, ha, ha.
we're going to list each of us our top 5 sitcoms. This was Tim's idea, and we both said, "Tim, you're smart.
No.
We'll listen to you." Oh, Trevor, I told you we're going to just say yes, yes, and that's
yes,
how
yes.
improv works.
Mhm.
Yeah. So whatever Tim said we were going to do, I don't care what he would have said. We
Mhm.
would have said yes. Ain't that right, Trevor?
Exactly.
He
Wow.
could. Tim could have said, "Let's list our top 5 pieces of
Men's masculinity products.
yeah, or our top 5 men podcasters who are human garbage." And all 5
Oh,
of them are
wow.
me and you.
I'm pretty dark right now. I think I'm
Yeah,
dark
yeah.
blisting over here.
Yeah. Dark Blissed. Oh man, we got to do an episode of Dark Blissed, like Dark Blissed after midnight.
Retro Blissed after dark.
Yeah, after dark.
Oh my God.
Oh,
That's a Patreon
hold on.
only.
Part of the language, but it's too good to mess up.
Yeah.
Y'all remember that Miss spoof that came out like in the 90s? It'll be like that. It's retro pissed.
Oh man.
Oh,
Just
man.
write this down. Trevor cussed. Write this down. Never happens on our show. I've never cussed.
In the UK, that's just like saying crap, I think.
In the UK and in Australia, they just drop it. Just nothing.
Oh,
Dude,
yeah,
it-
gosh.
Yeah.
It's
Oh yeah.
nothing.
You know that
Yeah,
this is off topic. You know the movie Once? I really
Yes.
love it.
yeah, it's
It's
fantastic.
Such a sweet movie, and that's what I remembered about it. But then I let my wife watch it, who definitely doesn't cuss. I was like, holy crap, there's like 40 F-bombs in it. But it's such a sweet movie, I never caught it. Just that's what they do in Ireland and places, apparently.
Yeah, it's just no big deal. Yeah.
Nope.
It's just a word.
Oh.
Everybody says F. That's what Fred Durst told me.
I still remember to this
Whoa.
day. To this day, I remember one of my good pals, Chris Corona. His dad is from Italy. So when he got to go over to Italy and he came back, he told me one of the things that really really stood out to him was how like nudity was no big deal over there. Like it was like be on their cover of the regular magazines. Like they just didn't care. I was like, that would never fly here for whatever
No.
reason.
No, you can chop
Cultural
people in half
differences.
on screen, but don't show any boobies.
And I'd rather see boobies personally.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
than somebody chopped in half.
Yeah.
I mean,
By
between
far.
the two, yeah.
If those are my two choices, I'd rather see movies. And I
Wait.
stand by this.
Top 5 sitcoms, was that the topic?
I don't remember. Top 5 sitcoms. That's right. I think the interesting thing here is we're at the day and age now where we legit had to ask each other in chat, kind of, how do you define a sitcom, right?
Yeah, and I still don't know.
Yeah. So we may have some that we may have to fight for.
Yeah.
But we each have a top 5 and some honorable mentions. But Tim, since this is your list, you get to decide who goes first for their number 5.
I would like it, Trevor to go first.
All right. So my only caveat is I had to just decide some things were not sitcoms just so I could narrow my list down, honestly. And I changed my ranking 3 times before we finally got to record. That's how confident I am about the order. And it could literally change any week.
I think it's with all 3 of us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is out of all the sitcoms we've ever seen, including the ones we think are forgettable and the ones we really do love. So even number 5, which I think might surprise both of you, it's still incredibly loved because it's number 5, and that is Community. Community.
Yeah.
The show I'm not going to say a whole lot about because I think somebody else deserves to say more about it later. But I'll say when I first watched it over at Johnny's, because I don't know if you'd watched the whole thing and you wanted me to see it.
I did. Yeah.
Okay.
The seasons weren't. It wasn't technically finished yet.
Okay.
I think the first season was out, and I just randomly caught an episode, and I was like, "This was as if Trevor and I had written a sitcom." Is how it felt.
Yes.
Trevor needs to see this.
And the first few episodes, I liked it right away, but I wasn't sure it was going to click with me, if that makes sense. And then I realized, holy cow, this show is it's not even like a normal sitcom. It's not like anything else. I almost don't want to spoil anything. And like I said, I'm not going to go into detail. I'll let others who might kind of like this go into detail.
Yeah.
But
somebody else may have this in our top 5. We don't know who, but it's possible.
The show I would most compare it to is I'm not going to even say that because it would spoil my own list. But there's just special episodes in this show that are unlike anything else I've seen in a sitcom or really even a television show.
Yeah, they took chances.
They took chances. They do epic things, and they're just so good. I would put the best, most bizarre episodes of this against any TV, honestly.
Yeah.
Paintball is all I'll say. I'll leave the rest for somebody else later.
Yeah. All right. Tim, who's going next?
I want you go. There you go.
All right. My number 5 is a little show that was also from Greg Daniels, who you may know from The Office and King of the Hill, those type of things. But he also did a show called Parks and Recreation. And I adore that show. I've seen the entire thing at least 4 plus 5 times, maybe around there, which is a recurring theme in my top 5. These are all ones that I know I've seen multiple times all the way through. And Parks and Rec is one of those. I just really enjoy the humor in it. It's just, it can be really deep and it really connects you with these characters. But then at the next moment, it can have just some of the stupidest jokes in history, some of the dumbest things, and some physical comedy would even show up. And it all fit. And that's why I love it so much. You can literally be crying one minute and then the next minute, Chris Pratt will like just throw his whole body over something, and it's just hilarious. And it all works in this thing. And but Parks and Rec, absolutely adore it. It had to be my number 5.
Interesting.
Awesome.
Tim, what's your number 5?
My number 5 is actually Cheers, the sitcom set in a bar, and with I mean, Cheers is pretty iconic. I mean, you mention it, even if people haven't seen it a lot or all the way through, when you say the name, you recognize, the just what it is. It's got a great amount of characters in there. It had some people that went on to do other things, like Ted Danson as well. And honestly, I think Woody Harrelson was probably the one that got the most notoriety out of Cheers. Yeah. But
yeah, it actually had a lot. It actually had numerous people whose career got really bumped up because of it. You're right.
Yeah, there's one more I take note of, but we'll save that.
Yeah, that's why we didn't mention it. I'm sure Kim was leaving one for somebody else.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, so that and I'm born in New England, so, and it was set in Boston, and Sam was an ex-Red Sox, which I'm a Red Sox fan growing
That's
up.
cool.
So it all felt kind of pretty cool. I mean, Kevin McHale was in an episode too, which is pretty sweet. So
Tim, are you still a Red Sox fan?
yeah.
All right, you know what? I'm making this decision now. I'm declaring this. Just declaring this right here. I don't have a favorite baseball team because we're in North Carolina and we don't have a baseball team. So, and the closest one's the Braves, and I just never cared. So I'm declaring here now, Red Sox, my favorite baseball team. Thanks, Tim.
Wow.
Well, I've declared it.
That's a bold statement, and it's tough being a Red Sox fan. I will tell you that. It's kind of tough.
I'm a Charlotte Hornet fan. I think I can handle it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Then you can handle it. Yeah.
We haven't won anything in decades.
If it's a tough thing to be a Red Sox fan, I'll go a step further. Red Sox, the official baseball team of Retro Blissed.
That's right. There we
wow.
got it. Yep.
Okay. That's awesome.
Stay tuned for Red Sox commercials.
But Cheers, my wife has watched that show, I think 3 times just in the last couple of years. And so I've caught a lot of episodes. I never watched it growing up. And it's very comforting is the word I would use for it. What I've seen.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah,
yeah,
sure.
I mean, a lot can be said for Cheers and everything. Great cast, good chemistry in the cast. The joke, a lot of it still holds up pretty well. I mean, it was older, so it's a little dated, but the jokes hold up, and it's a great show.
It's such a part of pop culture too. Like even if you didn't watch it, you were A, aware of it, and B, you knew, like you would know that it's where everybody knows your name type of thing. Like all that stuff.
If somebody says Norm, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Because I haven't even seen much of it, but I can tell you all that stuff that you just said. And I can tell you who all was on it. So that's how iconic of a show it is. Yeah,
it's true. Okay, that's my number 5.
Trevor, number 4 for you.
My number 4 could actually be as high as number 1, and if I rewatched it again, it might be. At one time, I stated this show was the funniest thing I'd seen in my entire life, and I still believe that moments of this show were the funniest thing ever committed to screen. I put it at number 4. I thought it should be higher, but it had to go somewhere. That's Arrested Development.
Yeah,
Arrested Development.
Yep.
Johnny's agreeing. The thing is, and maybe the reason I'm putting it at number 4 is I'm only counting 2.5 seasons. It was a short-lived show. It was not appreciated like it should have been at its time. Critically acclaimed. People love it, but not enough people watched it. So Fox canceled it 2.5 seasons. But oh my goodness, 2.5 perfect seasons. Netflix brought it back for 2 seasons, like 8 years later. And it's not that it's bad, but I only watched a couple episodes and it just did not capture that lightning in a bottle. So I actually chose not to watch the rest of it.
Well, that's because all the cast had actually gotten bigger.
Right, yeah.
And it was very hard to schedule them all together. And so
Jason Bateman, Michael Cera.
Yeah. If you noticed, a lot of it, they're not together really, and that's why.
Right. I mean, it's a miracle that they pulled it off, but
yeah,
those first 2.5 seasons are just perfect.
Yeah.
This show to me was unlike any comedy at the time in that and I was going to say Community is the thing that reminds me of it the most. There are callbacks that go seasons long to the point that it's like the show Lost. You're going to be lost if you try to hop in like in the second season because it goes callbacks all the way through the beginning of the show. Like there's always money in the banana stand. And
I'm a monster.
I'm a monster, mother. And I blew myself. And I mean, there's so much they keep calling back. My favorite callback bit is and that's why you don't blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Like where the uncle is always playing tricks on him. And that's why you don't play with fire or whatever. Mrs. Weatherbottom
yes.
is the greatest. That scene, and I won't spoil it, but Tobias as Mrs. Weatherbottom is the funniest thing I've ever seen on screen.
Yeah. That one scene, I can watch it multiple times and laugh every time.
Yes, belly laughter.
Time. It's just so perfect.
So for 2.5 perfect seasons, I'm not even counting the Netflix stuff personally. It still makes number 4, and it could be higher.
I mean, even it's legit one of those shows, and Community's this as well, where like if we're talking about something, like a quote will pop in, and I'm like, I hope this is a gift that I can share with y'all because it'll fit. Yeah.
And the only other thing I'll say is Arrested Development is one of those shows where the characters don't really grow a lot. Most of them are just pathetic worm bags, and they stay that way, but it still works.
Yeah.
Only Michael and his son Michael Cera. Is it just Michael Jr.? What does he call him? Michael
George Michael.
George Michael, yeah. They're really the only sympathetic main characters in the show, but it still works somehow.
The other ones are kind of jerks at times.
Yeah, sure. But I love them so much. Yeah.
But they're so lovable. I mean, Will Arnett. I mean, they introduced me to Will Arnett, and I love.
Oh
that
yeah.
guy. So yeah. All right. So my number 4. Man, this is how tough this is because I didn't have Arrested Development on mine, and I, as you just heard, love that show. Seen it multiple times, but I had to go with something that is just synonymous with my childhood. This was a show that I would watch with the family every Friday, and that, of course, is Family Matters.
Classic.
Yeah, I had to go there. I mean, Urkel is one of my all-time favorite characters. Very, and hashtag Team Mortal all the way, and just such a great classic comedy show. And this was a family that, while they always joked and made fun of Urkel and such, you could tell they all really actually cared about each other. You know, Carl Winslow was like one of the, in my opinion, one of the top 5 greatest TV dads. In my opinion. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. He actually gave a crap about his kids and would go out of his way for them.
Which is refreshing to see that.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So that's, man, and it's just so, and I rewatched this about a couple years ago. I decided to rewatch it, and honestly, I found it still as stupid and funny as it was before, and still have some moments that would make you tear up. And that's what I want in a sitcom. I want ones that can do both those things, and this show definitely does. I mean, it obviously goes for laughs first, but there are definitely episodes that will choke you up a little bit, you know, especially the older you get, when you realize how much friends and family actually matter, you know. Family Matters makes more sense, because when I was a kid, all I really cared about was all the jokes that Urkel could do, all the falls and stuff, you know, because you're a kid, that's what's funny to you. But when you get older, you really see the nuances and stuff and the actual writing of the show. And while everybody remembers the show probably for Urkel mainly, there's a lot more there. It's got a lot of meat on those bones, as I like to say. And so Family Matters is my number 4.
So that'll bring me to my number 4, which pre little inside baseball, I was talking to Johnny right before we recorded when Trevor was fixing his computer. I have a poster of this character on my wall, and I almost forgot this series. A certain alien from the planet Melmac who enjoys cats just differently than I do. That'd be Alf. I absolutely.
In fairness, he never ate the cat.
No, he didn't.
And he became friends with the cat eventually.
He sure did. And there was an animated series. It's got an amazing game on the Sega Master System.
I want to play that.
Yeah, I actually have that game too, randomly. But yeah, so Alf. I love Alf. It's, I don't know. The character meant a lot as a kid. He was like the perfect character. His humor is still like, I don't know if I feel the show still holds up.
It does.
It does, right? Yeah. I mean, the humor is hilarious. That's a show that I watch and I laugh every time. It's just, you know, this family is harboring an alien, trying to keep the government from finding it, and just hilarity ensues. Really, most people know what Alf is, but I love Alf, and I'm pretty sure you guys probably do too.
I absolutely adore Alf. He even became a talk show host at one point.
Sure did.
Yeah, I recently rewatched it like a year ago because they put the whole thing on Tubi TV. I don't know if it's still there or not, but so it was a free streaming thing, and it had Alf on there. I was like, heck yeah, I'll watch Alf. And what I had forgotten was, like, you'll be laughing and laughing, and all of a sudden they'll throw in this episode that's like a holiday special episode that will just bring you to tears.
Yeah, it had good writing.
Yeah, it was really good.
It did.
Was so good. Yeah. So Alf definitely still holds up in my opinion.
I think you've convinced me after we finish a certain other sitcom we're watching. Maybe Alf is the next one me and my wife will watch through.
Oh, you have to do it. Yeah.
Because I completely missed out on it, to the point I don't think I've seen a single full scene, even, like, complete blind spot for me, which is the case with a lot of shows from this era. But yeah.
Well, I can't remember. Tim, do you remember the year it actually came out? I don't remember.
Was it 86?
It might have been. So we were young, Trevor.
We were young, yeah.
So maybe that's why. Yeah.
I was watching Gunsmoke and other kids shows at that point.
I was literally about to say that. You're too busy watching Gunsmoke.
Yeah.
All right,
So-
Trevor, number 3.
Oh gosh. So my number 3, the last thing I wrote, the last note was this should probably be number 1. Honestly, like I think about the number of wonderful scenes and wonderful memories from the show, the amount of hilarity, the characters. This should probably be number 1, but it's just where it landed when I was trying to compare things in my mind. The Office. 2 words, Michael Scott, a bunch more words. Jim and Pam, Dwight, Schrute, Tony, Creed, Kevin, and pretty much everybody else. That was my notes. So many amazing moments. I think I love this show so much, and I've seen it a couple of times now, which for me isn't that normal. I don't, for like a whole show, I have to really, really love it to watch it multiple times. And the fact that it goes on a couple seasons too long, I think brings it down in my mind more than it should, because the fact of the matter is 90% of it is just amazing. I think it goes on maybe 2 seasons too long, but it still ends incredibly. It still brings it back around in an incredible way. It's an incredible show, and shows like Community and Parks and Rec obviously owe a lot to it. But The Office is my number 3, and on any given day, it could even be higher.
Well, I'm glad I'm following you, because my number 3 is also The Office. For many of the same reasons you said. I've watched it all the way through easily 5 times at least. I mean, I was a big Steve Carell fan anyway, because I've loved Steve Carell since he was on The Daily Show. So I've been a Carell fan for a long time. And then this was like his next big thing after that. And this was what really propelled him, was this show. But just after you realize how funny it is, and you go back and watch it again, you realize how good everyone on that show is at acting, just how good and believable they are. Kevin became one of my favorite characters. And to this day, I defy you to watch that opening scene where he's talking about how proud he is of that chili that he makes. And then he drops the chili and he's just trying to save it. At first you're laughing, and then like you get a little tinge of sadness for the guy.
You do.
Yeah.
Because you just want him to have a win. You just want this guy to get a win. Just let him have a win, And they do that with almost all the characters. I think they do a really good job of that. And this show is really kind of different too, in the fact that a lot of the actors are actually writers on the show, and they were writers first, and they were like, "Hey, do you want to be this character?" And that's kind of how it happened. BJ Novak and the guy who played Toby, and all these, and even more than that, Mindy, what's her last name? She's really famous now. She's done her own stuff.
Yeah, I can't remember her last name either.
But these were all writers originally on the show, and they became characters, and they're beloved. And I mean, that's not even talking about the fact, and I get what Trevor's saying. After Steve Carell leaves, I mean, that's such a huge void that you have there.
Yeah, it is.
And they still had a lot of really good people there. I mean, Ed Helms is a great addition to that. It's still actually very funny when he's gone, but it just can't help that there's a void there. I mean, it just can't be helped. That's just anytime some major character. But they literally take this Michael Scott character, and when you first meet him, you're like, oh yeah, that's kind of your reaction to him. He's like, ugh. He's still kind of funny, but like he's just a kind of a jerk, right? But then they start adding all these little layers to him, to the point where eventually you're like, you want this guy to win too.
Yeah.
Because they just add all, and you find out all this stuff about him, and like you just feel for him. I like one of my favorite scenes in the whole show is when Pam finally gets to have her own little space at the art show or something like that, and hardly anybody shows up, but Michael Scott shows up and just tells her how proud he is of her, and I cry every time I watch that scene. It's just so amazing. It's great television. The Office definitely had to be in my top 5. Tim, what's your number 3?
Just really quick on The Office. It's such a quotable show too, and that's just like I just wanted to, before I get to my number. I
still remember in the first season, which is just like 5 episodes, which a lot of people don't like, and I get it, but there's some really good lines in there.
There really is.
Like Abraham Lincoln once said, "I will attack you with the North." That's one of my favorite Michael Scott lines. And they play basketball too. It's very funny.
Oh my
Anna
gosh.
listens to a podcast with and I'm blanking on the actress that plays Pam
Yes.
and Angela.
Yes.
Angela, yeah.
And they still are doing this podcast because they just have such warm memories. The show is just so much fun to do.
And they're legit best friends in real life.
Yeah.
Because I know what podcast. I've listened to it too, so I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
It's
Kevin
just
has
great.
a podcast as well. The guy who
that's
played
cool.
Kevin.
Well, that's cool. Last thing about The Office, isn't it just saying that? Isn't it so cool? Like when these people, like the actors, not only they're great friends, is they have such a love for something that they did and they don't mind, because you have some actors that are like, yeah, I'm associated with that. You know, I don't care. But
Yeah,
like,
they're
you know,
over
when
it.
they it's nice when like these people really love like things that they did. I don't
Yeah.
know. That's just a little something. Number 3, I'm going Futurama. I
Ooh,
absolutely
man,
love
yeah.
Futurama.
yes.
We have watched it so many times. It's so quotable. It actually, like Johnny said before, there's one episode that I cannot watch.
With
If
the
it's
dog?
on, yeah, I'll turn it off. I just, and that's no disrespect to the episode. It's one of the greatest pieces of TV I've ever seen, but it hits the feels too hard. And
It's
if
the one
I'm
with
in
the
the,
dog, right?
yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's so well done. It's Matt Groening, you know, did The Simpsons and everything. Futurama's got such an intelligence to it. Yeah, it's goofy and stupid, or it can be, but it's done so intelligently. The voice cast is one of the most talented. Like Billy West does half the characters, and he's
Yes.
talking to himself. He is such an awesome, person and a actor. I mean, Katie Seagal from Married with Children is Leela. Maurice LaMarche, who is just famous in doing a bunch of characters. It's just such an amazing show, and I absolutely love it. Still holds up. Sci-Fi sometimes does like late night marathons. We always find it's another show that had an initial run, was canceled. They did movies, and then I think Comedy Central rebooted it.
Yeah.
And the later episodes, they're definitely, the soul is there, but I feel like the earlier episodes, definitely I prefer those, but I feel for what it was, I feel like the newer episodes definitely still felt pretty good.
Compared to other shows that get canceled and brought back, I thought that the ones that were brought back were actually felt like they were still quality overall.
Yes,
Like,
that's a perfect way to put it.
Yeah, they still told some really heartfelt stories in those.
Yes,
for sure. I mean, like the whole Fry and Leela stuff, I can watch that all day. And that show, how that show ended, is incredible.
Oh, it really is. It really is. They gave it a true ending, which was amazing. And yep, that's one of my favorites. That's number 3. What's your number 3, Trevor?
He's number 2.
My number two.
Oh, number 2. Yeah, 2, 3, whatever.
I know y'all didn't expect to see this one on the list, but it did sneak on. At number 2 is Frasier.
Oh man, I didn't know this was going to happen.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised it's not number 1.
You know what? I am too.
Yeah.
Everything about this was hard. I mean,
I can't wait to see what your number 1 is now. I don't even know what it would be.
Everything about this was
If
hard.
you had asked me what your number 1 would have been before we started this, I would have honestly said Frasier. 100%.
I would have thought Frasier. Yeah.
And that wouldn't be an incorrect choice. I mean, it could be tomorrow. Frasier is sort of like, I guess, Cheers was to Tim. I just feel good when I'm watching it. It's comfort food. It is one that I saw whenever it came on. I don't know that we knew the day of the week it came on, but when we were younger, if it was on, we were going to go ahead and watch it, which is weird. Like, it doesn't, on the surface, it looks like a stuffy show. It shouldn't be for kids, but I actually found a Rolling Stone article. Not that I really care what they have to say normally, but I thought this was worded perfectly. They said that Frasier is a mix of literary and lowbrow. And that is what it is. It is smart, it is witty, and then it falls flat on its face and just does goofiness. Like, it does both. The Frasier, Kelsey Grammer is fantastic.
He is.
But David Hyde Pierce, who played his brother Niles, is understated incredible in this show. Like, his timing, his facial expressions, Kelsey Grammer's facial expressions too, both of them, they do so much acting even before they get to the words. And everybody around them is great too, but those two just are why you keep coming back, because they're just a force that I think was almost underappreciated.
Yeah.
I mean, people loved it, but I don't think people realized how good that acting was until years and years later. 264 episodes. And this is why Frasier makes number 2 compared to some of the other shows. 11 seasons, 264 episodes, incredibly consistent. Nary a dud in the mix. There's no low season. There's no off season. There's some episodes that aren't as good as others, sure, but it's just so consistent for 264 episodes. Seinfeld, by comparison, was 173 episodes. This show went on forever. As a spinoff of Cheers. What was that?
It's even coming back.
Is it still? Like, I want it to be true, but is it really happening still?
That's what they're saying. Yeah.
I hope so. Yeah, it's just, there's some things about it that are an artifact of its era, but it's also ahead of its time and clever, but not too clever. It's just, probably of all the ones on my list, it's the most pure sitcom. I mean, it is a sitcom. That is what it is. But I don't know. I just think it's the timing, I guess. The timing of Frasier and Niles is just sublime.
And I always, for whatever reason, I think it's because he reminded me of my grandpa Townsend was their dad. He was kind of a gruff guy, but he definitely loved his kids.
Yeah.
That just reminds me of my grandpa so much. So maybe that's why I kind of grabbed, and the dog, of course.
Yeah. Oh, and also I did mean to mention, it's also got that look like The Office. We like to talk about the funny parts of The Office, but one of the driving forces is the love story of Pam and Jim.
Mm-hmm.
This has that too, and it knows how to make you wait for it. You wait a long time.
Yeah.
And it's so worth it. And it's not even for the main character. And the ending is so, I'm not going to give it away but it's so bittersweet, but it's so perfect. It is not a happy ending, but it's also not, depressing. It's just, it feels real. And yeah, it's just great. Everything about it.
Yeah. Can't fault that. I mean, I don't think a lot of people realize how long that show was around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
11 years.
Yeah. Wow. That's a lot. All right. My number 2 is the only show that I have on my list that on my top 5 that's still going on today, but it's been around for way longer than you probably think, and that is Bob's Burgers.
Yeah.
I had to go Bob's Burgers. They actually have a movie coming out soon too. I'm very excited about that. But I adore this show. I've seen every episode easily. Some of the episodes I've seen 10 plus times. That's not even making that up. Mm-hmm. Easily that. This is my Frasier, I guess, in that this is a show that if I just want some comfort or something, I'm putting this on. I just love Bob's Burgers. I think it's really funny. The voice, the cast is insanely talented. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is the music on this show is bonkers fantastic and very funny. I have that's one of my vinyl records is Bob's Burgers.
Well, that's great
because I love it so much, and I actually just released a new one that I'm going to have to get. But yeah, I just love this show so much. I can just sit here and this is also one of those shows where they actually put little jokes everywhere too. Mm-hmm. Even in the opening, when they're showing you the little the opening of the show and they're playing the intro, never skip that. This is like one of those shows that you should scream at Netflix or at what's Hulu now for having the skip intro option, because you don't want to skip it because there's jokes in there that are different every intro, mm-hmm. and you're going to miss them. And they're great jokes, especially for if you love puns like I do. Do not miss those because they are fantastic. But Bob's Burgers, I think one of the reasons I really truly love it is that while a lot of the humor is very stupid and dumb, at the core of the show, it's about that family, and there's real true love there. They constantly stick up for each other. Constantly. They always have each other's backs all the time. And I'm even going to throw in Teddy as part of the family too, even though he's more of Bob's best pal, but he's kind of become part of the family in a way. He's my favorite character in the whole thing. He's very sympathetic and you just feel bad for him the whole time. But man, it's such a great show. I can't recommend Bob's Burgers enough. It's one of those shows that I've begged Trevor to watch. I think Anna would love it too if she can get past animation. But
well, I was going to say I've watched the first season and I think part of the second season, and I want Anna to watch it with me so much, but she cannot get past this animation style. She can't watch The Simpsons, and I'm gonna force her one day, and I think she'll get over it. But she just in her mind she can't get over it. I would love to watch Bob Burgers with you because you just love it so much. And I don't know why. It's just a show I want to watch with somebody else.
Yeah.
So I watched the first season. I'm like, hey, Anna, you want to watch some of this? And she's just immediate turn off. Something about the animation. I don't know. Like for her, animated movies are supposed to be like beautiful, like have great scenery, like Disney movies.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't want to put words in her mouth, but that's the best I could figure out. Like she doesn't get the whole, in her mind, it doesn't work when it's like a comedy and it's not necessarily supposed to look good or pretty. It's, you know, for her, animation and sitcoms are two separate things, I guess, which throws me off, but I'll force her one day, then we'll both watch it.
Okay.
She'll like it.
That's what I always wanted to hear. Forcing somebody to do something.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, Tim, what is your number 2?
Number 2 is in the same vein as 2 series that were already mentioned, actually in the same universe with crossing over characters. It's called Wings.
Oh man.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's about a small airport on the island of Nantucket. It's basically a spin-off of Cheers that, you know, and so the first season you actually have crossing over characters. You have Norm and Cliff coming to the island. You have Frasier and Lilith coming to the island.
Huh.
One of the funniest early episodes involves Frasier and Lilith bringing a group of their patients to the island, which is kind of funny. but it's basically a story about two brothers that don't have much in common. One's very straight-laced, very organized, and one is he's just a crazy guy. You know, he's smart, but he's goofy and he doesn't really. So you have their story. A childhood friend who runs the named Helen, who grew up with them, and she runs the lunch counter. And this is where Tony Shalhoub got his start as the cab driver. This is another show that has just an absolutely amazing cast, and it stars Tim Daly and Steven Weber, who have gone on and done a lot of stuff. Actually, I absolutely love this show. I've watched this show straight through. Oh my gosh, a lot. You know, and this show lasted for what, 8 seasons too. 172 episodes, and it lasted 8 seasons. And I mean, Thomas Hayden Church is on the show too. He plays the goofy mechanic. He does end up leaving the show at some point, and there's a bit of a void, but not really, because the rest of the characters kind of pick up on it. But yeah, and it goes everywhere. There's just bat crap crazy stuff going on. It's got a good love story in there, and there's episodes that'll bring you to tears, really. I mean, it's so well done. It's from that same group that brought you Cheers and Frasier and Wings. They all, and not on my list, but also Taxi was made by the same people too.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I feel like it's all like the same multiverse, not a multiverse. It's the same universe, which is pretty awesome.
My biggest memory from Wings is I think they used to show reruns on like the USA Network or something.
They did, yeah, USA AM.
And I remember this. I don't know why I remember this because I was young, but I was a kid and I was watching, and it was just happened to be on the TV. And one of the characters said a cuss word. I can't remember what the word was now, but I do remember that I didn't know that was a cuss word.
Oh no!
And I went out and I just repeated it loudly and proudly to my mom, and she was very annoyed and upset with me. and quickly I found out that was not something I should say. So that's, for whatever reason, that just sticks out in my mind about that show.
Oh man, it's good. It's a good show. It's streaming places. The thing about this, and the unfortunate thing about if you try to stream the show, the last time I counted, out of the 8 seasons, there's about 24 episodes that are missing on most streaming services due to licensing and music. Especially, unfortunately, there's Christmas episodes, and the Christmas episodes are so good, but because they used actual licensed Christmas music,
oh man,
they're not there, to the point where I actually had all the individual box sets, and I lost them in a flood. But I ended up buying it's not expensive, but I ended up buying like the whole thing together. So I own it all, the whole series on DVD. But I absolutely love Wings.
I can't make up my mind now, Wings or Alf for our next sitcom, because I've completely missed out on Wings as well.
I think
and I like the setting.
There's less seasons of Alf, so you would
There
get
is.
through it quicker.
Yeah.
You definitely get, because Alf is only 4, I think, right?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So you'll get through it a lot quicker. But
Yeah, but
I don't think you can go wrong with either one.
no, you the way you like Frasier and with if Anna likes Cheers and stuff, I can't imagine you guys would not enjoy Wings.
Yeah.
It's got the same feel to it. So, and that show, I actually remember watching Wings when it was actually airing and seeing the last episode when it actually aired. And that was just, there's 2 television shows. One I won't mention because I'd like to talk about it sometime, especially because I know Johnny's a big fan of this show. Wink, wink. It was on NBC for 5 seasons. But I remember watching the final episode of that as well. Those are 2 shows that I, as childhood memories, remember watching the last episode as they aired. And it was early 90s. So, but that's Wings. Wings is my number 2.
All right, Trevor, what are your honorable mentions and then your number 1?
Well, all of my honorable mentions were on the list at one point, and I had a couple more that were honorable mentions, and now they're just not there at all because I'm not going to talk about them, but I want to. My first honorable mention is Seinfeld, and this is an honorable mention because I'm just being honest with my list, and I have not watched an episode of this show since I was probably 13 or 14, and I feel like it's going to really hold up and be really great, but I just don't remember enough, despite what everybody else says, so I can't put it on my list. But I do think it probably is that good. The Andy Griffith Show. The Andy Griffith Show is old fashioned, but it's freaking great.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a sitcom that I could watch with my 2-year-old son in the room and not feel remotely guilty. And yet I'm still laughing. It's wholesome, but I think people remember the whole Mayberry and how wholesome it is, but they forget it's a really good show too. It's not deep. It's not complex. There are life lessons, but it's mostly just funny. Don Knotts is fantastic as Barney Fife.
Yes.
He's a goofball, but he's lovable and he's fantastic. And the barber Floyd, he's great. Everybody's just really good. Of course, and it's Ron Howard, who went on to do all kinds of things. Actually, there's a connection. Ron Howard is the narrator for Arrested Development. He narrates all the episodes. So there's a little Opie Taylor reference.
And he shows up on there too at some point.
Oh yeah. And my last one, sorry, I thought I saw something out of the corner of my, I hope I'm imagining things.
Oh gosh.
I've been on a war against these spriggets in the basement, and I think I about have them all dead. But anyways, The Simpsons should probably be on my list instead of honorable mention. What a legacy this show has had. I don't need to talk about The Simpsons. All people could talk about now is how it's not as good as it used to be, but how many great episodes have there been? Hundreds of great episodes. Homer and Bart and Marge and Maggie and Grandpa is great. I mean, and then all the side characters, and there's a link to Frasier. Kelsey Grammer plays Sideshow Bob.
Amazingly.
A great character.
Amazingly.
Simpsons has, and here's a show that my wife she judges the show harshly, and I'm just looking forward to one day us watching it and her being like, oh, you were right. I should respect you as a man and as my husband because you were right. But it'll probably never happen.
By today's standards, I remember when the show was really popular because when I was in elementary school, and I got in trouble for bringing a folder that had Bart Simpson that said "Eat My Shorts" on it. I got a lot of trouble for that. But by today's standards, this show is incredibly tame.
Yes, I was gonna say it used to be the bad boy of TV, and now it's like, I won't say wholesome, but it's kind of like family entertainment by comparison.
Yeah.
To even like Bob's Burgers, but definitely some other things I won't mention because they might be showing up. It's tame by comparison, but yeah, so many hilarious. And Johnny, this is technically from the movie, but to this day, you can ask Anna. One of my favorite memories of going to a movie with you is when we watched the Simpsons movie, and Homer is holding the pig. He's going, Spider Pig does whatever Spider Pig does.
Can he swing from a web? No, he can't, because he's a pig.
Yep. Still one of my favorite things. Yeah. So those are my 3 honorable mentions. Johnny, what's yours?
Okay. Yeah. I added more as y'all were talking.
Well, I'm going to mention one more then if you don't mention it.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay.
Malcolm in the Middle. Malcolm in the Middle.
It's not on mine. Yeah, it is.
And of course, it's Bryan Cranston before he was Breaking Bad. But yeah, I love Malcolm in the Middle would make my list if we were doing 10.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah,
that's one I want to go back and rewatch.
it's good.
All right, Arrested Development. I don't want to say more because we've already talked about that. Community, I won't say more because we talked about that.
Oh,
The
wow.
Munsters.
Oh yeah.
I love The Munsters, and since we're recording this in October, maybe I'll go back and watch some of it. Makes sense, right?
Oh yeah.
Love The Munsters. I mean, good gosh, it's just so stupid and funny. South Park, I had to put on here.
Oh yeah.
It's so
Yeah. I didn't think about that as a sitcom, but it is.
It's still going on. And literally nothing's off limits for them. They'll talk about anything. The first 5 seasons of Family Guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The first 5 seasons are really strong. This first 3, the original 3 before it got canceled and brought back, especially those.
Yes.
They're hilarious.
I mean, I remember going over to Trevor's and watching the DVDs. That's how much we loved it.
I still have the
we got
DVDs.
sick. We laughed so hard at those first 3 seasons.
Yeah, because they're so stupid. Yeah.
Yeah.
But and then there's still funny parts in the new ones now. I mean, there's still some parts that I'll quote and laugh about with other friends and stuff. But there's just nothing compared to those first 5 seasons, in my opinion. And I just love this so much, and it's 100% recency biasness. And I could be talking this being more of a drama than a comedy, but I had to put Ted Lasso here. If it had been out longer and more of the seasons were out, because I already know that there's no way they're just going to do 2 seasons because this thing is just doing so good so far. But I just love and adore it so far. And it's not even finished. There's still one more episode before the second season's done. And I had to put it on my list. That's just how much I love it. It's been a long time since the show just really made me feel for characters like this show has done.
I chose to not count it as a sitcom just because I had to draw the line somewhere. But yeah, I mean, it probably is a sitcom as much as some of the other ones we've mentioned. I also love Ted Lasso. I also love Ted Lasso.
I'll tell you this, just in this last episode alone.
I watched it.
I had one of my biggest laughs, especially with with the team we're preparing for something. That's all I'll say. Trevor probably knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
incredibly funny. And then some of my biggest crowds were in this, and then my heart broke at the very end of how I did it. I was like, oh no.
When you said that, I did not expect. I thought somebody was going to die or something. I almost would have preferred that.
Yeah,
over what happened.
Yeah,
that's wow.
Yeah, because it's just man, I don't want to say more, but yeah, it'll hurt your heart. All right, Tim, what are your honorable mentions?
My honorable mentions, couple of which have already been mentioned. The Office. I mean, The Office is great. We've talked a lot about it. One of my favorite parts is, when he's Prison Mike and he talks about the Dementors. That was amazing.
Prison Mike.
So yeah. Also Bob's Burgers, Johnny. I can't say any more than how Johnny already laid that show out. The beginning and the puns. I love looking at the burger of the day. I love Louise. Louise has elements I wish I could be more like, because she's amazing. So those are also, and then this one is like number 6. And this is a show that I believe I watched because did you guys? I think you did, is The Good Place. Did you guys watch The Good Place?
No, I don't think it was because of us.
You told us about it.
Oh, like I said, I told them how great this show, The Good Place is. If you've seen The Good Place, I don't want to say too much about it because it's an experience to watch. Ted Danson again, who is amazing in it.
Yeah.
Kristen Bell, who is just she's just absolutely amazing and hilarious. She's great. The whole cast is good. And an interesting thing about this show, I think it's 4 seasons, but when they made this show, they knew how long they wanted it to be, and they structured it so when you watch it from beginning, it actually has a very good ending because they were planning for it, and you can tell how good the ending of this show is. And I think that was it. I had others, but I mean, the last one I'll mention real quick is Home Improvement. We all grew up with Home Improvement.
Yeah,
mostly. I mostly remember it from the game, but I think the show was all right too. I'm just kidding. No, Tim Allen was great at that time, and it's just it had a lot of good. I mean, of course, as a kid, I preferred the Tool Time, the funny stuff between him and Al, and rivalry with Bob Vila, which I always found was
Yeah.
hilarious. That show has great Halloween and Christmas episodes.
Yes, it does.
You can put those against any other sitcom. But yeah, I'll throw that in there as also as an.
So does Bob Burgers. I probably should have mentioned that. Bob's
Oh
Burgers
yes,
also
yes it does.
great. Yeah.
They do
And
holidays
Thanksgiving.
well.
Yeah. And
Oh, Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Thanksgiving's great. The chicken, the turkey keeps ending up in the toilet. You can watch to find out.
Yeah.
But
right,
those
Trevor.
are mine.
Trevor, what is your number one favorite sitcom?
Well, if we didn't do this little exercise, I don't know that I would have picked this, but that's where I landed today. This show was originally meant to be a spin-off of The Office, but the creators decided it would be better as its own standalone show. That's Parks and Rec. I
Nice.
just love this show, and I loved it more after watching it the second time, and I think that's why it has cemented itself for me. And I don't know if it's a better show than The Office. It's just the fact that the first season, which is only 6 episodes, is the weakest season. But for me, it just gets better and better after that point, and it never gets weak. So the fact, and then it ends so strong. I love the ending so much. So the fact that it's just so good. I don't think the first season's terrible, but it's just not what it becomes. And the thing is, in the first season, Leslie Knope, sort of the main character, is very cringy in that first 6 episodes. But then she becomes just admirable, and everybody around her kind of respects what she is, even though she's very much an odd person. And it just changes the tone of the whole show. It has such a warm heart, such a warm character. It's a lot less cringy than The Office and a lot warmer for the most part. They'll introduce cringe characters like Ben Schwartz, who plays Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yes.
She's the worst. But especially his sister they're supposed to be completely unlikable, and they absolutely are. But your main characters are just overall just become so warm and likable.
Especially poor Jerry.
Oh, Jerry, yeah. But Nick Offerman and Chris Pratt, if they were the only 2 characters in it playing these characters, I would still love it.
Yeah.
My hot take, and this is controversial, because I love me some Star-Lord, but I think this is the best role Chris Pratt's done to this point.
Oh, I agree.
He's
I
so
like
good
him
in it.
too. I think he's a great Star-Lord, but this to me is peak Pratt for sure.
And there's some bias here. Nick Offerman, who plays oh my goodness, my mind is a goldfish lately.
He likes bacon.
But what's his? I always call him Nick Offerman now. What's his name?
He's got a mustache.
Yes, he looks like my uncle. My uncle
Is
David,
Ron,
who I think
Ron
you've met.
Swanson?
Ron Swanson.
I've
Tim's
never
not even
seen the
watched
show. Yeah, I
Good
know.
grief. Ron Swanson, the character, looks like my uncle David, to the point that it's a little ridiculous how much he looks like him. And he was like, my favorite uncle and stuff. So that was, that's anyways, how can I sum it up? Why do I love it so much? My wife adores it too. Like, it's just something we look forward to watching together so much. And I think it's just, I looked forward so much to seeing what they do this episode, just what the characters do, how they interact. I don't know. I love them so much. Yeah. I mean, my number one sitcom, I wouldn't have said that if you just asked me yesterday, but I guess it is, at least for now.
It's a show where you want all the characters to win.
Yeah. Oh, and
that's
the ending.
unusual.
Oh,
yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I like how they did the ending too. Yep. So I agree. All right. So my number one. This is the only show that I still own all the DVDs of. When I was going through the phase of selling my DVDs, I couldn't part with these. I just couldn't do it. And they're not even worth anything. You can still get the show crazy cheap. But I knew in my soul I would be sad if I got rid of these, despite the fact that it's streaming and I can watch it easily. I can't get rid of these DVDs. They just mean something to me. The show means something to me. I've kind of felt like I really related to this main character so much, to Corey Matthews. I really related to him. This is Boy Meets World. This is one of those few shows that once the kids grow up, the show is still good. And I dare say it actually gets better.
Wow.
Usually when the kids grow up, the show kind of loses something, but that's not the case here. In fact, I dare say they actually get even more mature with the writing to kind of go along with the kids maturing. Even when they get to college. It also has one of my all-time favorite TV characters ever, and that's the older brother, Eric. You cannot go wrong with Eric Matthews. That dude, freaking hilarious. He does a lot of voice acting now, but that dude is so dang funny. And man, and Feeney, good Lord, Feeney, good gosh, you can't go wrong with that guy. The voice of Kit, for crying out loud. You can't go wrong with him. But I related to this main character so much. Just always, he just had this good. He wanted to do what was right most of the time, but he still messed up. And he had a best friend who had a more troubled background, and they really played into that. There were some very heavy episodes in this thing, some really heavy ones that will really upset you and make you so sad and cry for these characters. And this show tackles a lot of heavy stuff. I mean, from, like one of the main characters' dad, who was his only, thing he knew growing up, passes away in this show. And they tackle that, and tackle it well, by the way. You can learn so much from this show. I feel it's just so good. Topanga was one of my first crushes growing up. I always thought she was like just so incredibly pretty. And man, I just love Boy Meets World. It's always going to have its place in my soul of a show that I kind of grew up with. Like I was kind of growing up with this character as he was growing up. And also, side note, a lot of wrestlers would show up on this show, including my favorite Mick Foley. So that's a double awesome in my book. Boy Meets World was my definite number one. This was the only easy choice for me. It was really hard ranking the rest of them, but I had to have Boy Meets World number one.
Okay, that leaves me with my number one, I believe.
Frasier. I can't believe Frasier's your number one. But I added up. It has to be Frasier. Yeah.
Frasier, yeah. No, all right. So you guys obviously know what it is, and it was tough, and because
That's what I think it is. We're taking complete credit for it.
You are taking complete credit for it. I was going to say, up until within the last 8 months or so, my favorite sitcom of all time since I was wee high was Wings.
Yeah,
and now it's not Wings anymore. Yes, to their detriment or their benefit, these two take complete credit for this. I probably just blindside them with gifs and quotes from this show, constantly beating them over the head with it. You can be honest if it was a mistake introducing me to this show, but my favorite show of all time right now is Community. Completely missed out on Community. I've only started watching. I only first watched this show 8 months ago. I don't know, within the last year. I don't even know. And it is skyrocketed to the point where I think I've watched it through about 11 times now.
Wow.
Which is a lot. Yeah. So it's become that feel good show when there's nothing going on and we just want to kill time, or I'm having a bad day. I throw on an episode of Community. I absolutely love it. Just like everything from the characters. I mean, like I think it was said about Arrested Development, but like a lot of these characters at first, especially, are not very likable and they're not very the best people, but you still do get a feel and you get favorite characters and you want to see them succeed. The high concept episodes that are crazy, they involve paintball, and there's an episode that's like an episode of Law and Order, and it's just ridiculous. They're like, like I think you guys were saying too, you could put them up against any other show.
And claymation.
They did, which the Abed's Christmas, which was,
and that's a deep episode too.
It's a super deep episode. Yeah. That's how that show is. It's like every once in a while there's episodes that go wicked deep into almost like into the psyches of this character and these characters. The only unfortunate thing is the show does, I mean, I like the entire series no matter what's going on. There's a few episodes, but the thing with some of the characters though, I feel like there's stuff that happens earlier on that they kind of established, and then later on in the series they kind of maybe they forget they established, because some of the characters drastically change One in particular, probably one of my favorite character. My favorite character is Abed. My second favorite character is Britta. And Britta changes so much from season 1 to the end. She kind of becomes an airhead.
That's pretty wild. My favorite character is Troy, like all the way.
Yeah, Troy's awesome too.
Freaking
That's the
love
thing
Troy.
is there's really no bad choice for characters.
Yeah.
What about
Like
you?
just his
Trevor?
reaction to meeting LeVar Burton just makes me laugh every time.
Oh my God. Yeah.
That hospital, that whole episode may be my favorite. One of my, if we did just a top 5 favorite episodes of anything, that would be one of mine. Just because there's so many fantastic, hilarious parts that I laugh out loud. I mean, this Chevy Chase, who I'm not the biggest fan of. I mean, I like the Christmas movie he did, obviously. But overall, I just never really cared. But he's great in this.
He is,
and
he's got good moments.
Yeah, and he has some really great lines on this show that I quote all the time on this episode in particular. And LeVar Burton, I'm a big LeVar Burton fan.
Me too.
Love that guy. And he shows up on here and just Troy's reaction to that is a highlight for this show. This was also a show that Trevor and I would watch together because I would get the DVDs and we'd watch it over at his apartment. And man, just some fun memories of that.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're going to ask me my favorite. I think it's got to be Abed. I connect with Abed, but Troy and Abed together was my favorite. And
same.
I guess spoiler. Yeah.
I'm wearing a Greendale shirt.
They're taken apart.
He is wearing a Greendale shirt. Just so
I'm wearing a Greendale shirt. Yep.
Yeah.
I've become a pretty big fan of this show in short order. I feel like I could just talk a lot about it, but yeah, no, Community is great. I'm very happy that these guys like got me to watch it because there's a lot there. The last thing I like, the guest stars, random people, like because we're watching through it again, like when we eat dinner and stuff. The episode with Jack Black has to be this. Episode is, and it's
and he's not the only guest star on that one, by the way. Another one pops up at
the very end, randomly. I mean, if you haven't seen it, I'm not going to say. But, yes, but it's just Jack Black being Jack Black, and it's absolutely hilarious. There's so many guest stars in that show. I mean, unfortunately,
we didn't even talk about the Dean.
I was about to say the Dean might be the most character that shouldn't be great, but is absolutely amazing.
He is amazing. He's a great actor.
Yes, he is.
He does voices too. If you Mike Tyson Mysteries, he does a voice on Mike Tyson Mysteries.
Yeah, that's a good
Marcus. Show. Yep. But yeah, that whole the show does, unfortunately, as it evolves, characters will leave and stuff, and they try to fill voids when certain characters leave, and you can kind of tell. But the other ones, like when Troy leaves the show, when they start really pairing Annie and Abed together, they really meld, and they have some really great moments together in the later stuff.
Yeah, because that was a big loss.
I was going to say that was heartbreaking to me because I do love Abed the most, I think, but Troy and Abed together are really what I love.
That and that episode where he leaves is just crushing.
Yes,
it is. It's really sad, and they the floor is lava episode, which is a great concept. There's a great concept episode, and they just pull it off so incredibly well. They really get into Abed's head. It's really like there's moments and stuff. I feel like the writing is just completely and utterly like perfect when it comes to trying to really get into.
They even do a G.I. Joe episode, the cartoon,
which is absolutely crazy. They even get the original voice actors for Duke and Flint and everything, and it's just like, Dan Harmon, who also co-created Rick and Morty too. So it's like, so there's a lot of high.
Basically, you got to check out the show because there's no way that if you just watch a trailer or hear that it's called Community and it's about a community college, there's no way you're going to understand why the show is so good. It is bonkers. It
really is.
It's its own thing. It's like it would be like if I told somebody that Lost was a show about survivors on an island. Sure, but not really. It's like that.
Yeah.
I mean, so
yeah.
I think people just got to check it out.
Random people will show up and be like, "Holy crap, that's John Goodman!" That'll happen.
Oh yeah, who is absolutely amazing in the show too. John Goodman, Brie Larson is in. Yep. I'm gonna miss a bunch, but no, there's a million people that just randomly pop in and stuff. Really crazy stuff happens.
So we all love Community.
Sorry, you really got me thinking about this Britta thing. You're totally right. She becomes a different person later on.
Yeah. Now,
It's funny.
I was talking to Dee about it and everything too. And something, I don't know. I mean, didn't do too much research into this, but the thing at the beginning of the show, her and Jeff were pretty much, it's almost kind of butting heads a lot.
Yeah.
So it's almost like maybe they didn't want to
decide not to go that direction. Yeah.
And so they kind of dumbed her down a little bit, because the first season 1, I still feel is like the strongest and has some of the best moments. I mean, getting rid of the Brita, getting rid of the B. I mean, there's some good music and hilarious random stuff that happens in there too.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you haven't seen Community, don't be like me and 10 years later, watch it and become obsessed. Be obsessed with things when they're relevant, because now it's like impossible to like collect or enjoy things. It's not impossible to enjoy things.
And just for the record, I'll never apologize for suggesting something to someone and they fall in love with it. That means I made somebody happy. I'm cool with that.
You sure did. Now you just get inundated with a bunch of gifts constantly.
Worth it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Gifts are gifts.
But that was Retro List. That was our top 5 sitcoms. We probably went way over what we meant to go because we just love talking about this. So stay tuned. If you join Patreon, spread the word. And because this is the only way you're going to get these, our list episodes is through our Patreon. And coming soon, we'll have another Retro List for you, I'm sure. Who knows what the topic could be, because I don't remember what we said. But coming soon, for Trevor, for Tim, I'm Johnny. We thank you all very much. And until next time, what's your top 5?